Hey everyone, welcome to week 18 of the betting booth alongside Zach and Jared Sandler. Happy to be with you. And yes, I know everyone is wondering, we will keep this going for the postseason. That's when it becomes really fun, and we'll obviously change the format. Might get into some props, maybe some totals as well with limited games. I don't know if we'll focus only on the sides, but we will continue this conversation for the postseason. But we still have one more week, and week 18 is kind of a wacky week, right? Because you got some teams playing for a lot, some not at all. Some might play their starters, for a quarter or a half for possession. That to me is the tricky part, is making sure you know which team who has nothing to play for is going to play their players, like to what extent or what they're going to try and do, how they're going to try and go about it. But I don't know. I'm curious your thoughts. How do you feel like you've got a number of plays you really like this week, or do you feel like this one's a little bit tougher?
I think it's tougher. I think week 18 is always tougher because, like you said, you're trying to figure out which teams are motivated and which teams are not. You have a few games where you know both teams are motivated and you can try to handicap those games, but handicapping the games where you don't really know which teams are on vacation mode, which guys are playing for incentives, you're trying to figure it all out. And then the way I make a lot of picks is the public money, right? Public money coming in, the way the line is moving. And right now on week 18, you're going to see a lot less public recreational bettors making plays because there's so many meaningless games. Fantasy leagues are over, so there's less interest in a lot of the games. You got the college football playoffs this week, so you haven't seen a ton of money coming in from the public. So a little bit tougher to make reads on these games. So I would recommend being selective with your games this week.
I was going to actually suggest, do we even want to pick three aside?
We can go through pick three aside or try to pick three aside. I think we should definitely talk about the marquee games that are going to decide the divisions and the number one seeds in the conferences. But like I said, I would recommend, even if we give three plays out, we may not love all three of them. I mean, even last week I gave out Raiders on the show, and then right after the show Max Crosby went out, and I realized that team wasn't really motivated to win the game. Somehow the Giants went from the week before of not trying to making Jackson Dart look like Superman and running design runs for him and stuff. So I bought out of that position on Sunday. So we may give out plays here that we may like today, and then we find out like I like the Rams, but like we could find out tomorrow that they want to sit, some key starters, and you have to figure it out from there. So I think we can make recommendations on the games we like, talk about the key games, but I think the recommendation is to be selective on the games that you like this week, because it's hard to figure out the motivation of these teams at this point in the season, and who wants to go out and play hard on Sunday. So I think we can still pick three. I definitely have more than three plays I'm going to make. I guess it depends if you steal them like you normally do. So,
well, you already said one that I think we're going to be aligned on. I don't know if I'll make. I almost now feel guilty if I make that.
You take that number one.
Yeah,
well, you can go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, so last week you went 1 and 2, and you mentioned one of those were. One of those was just bad luck, right? I mean, the Raiders, I think, probably would have not made that pick had you known that Max Crosby wasn't going to play, right? The Brock Bowers thing, I think we talked about. We're good still playing them, but then when you find out that Max Crosby, and that was one of the reasons why you still liked it, right? No Andrew Thomas for the Giants. Max Crosby could make a couple game-changing or game-swinging type plays. So Tennessee, that one looked like got off to a great start. I take the blame. I think I texted you like 5 minutes in, like Titans ! Like, hey, nailed this one. But you were all over Seattle. I had Houston +2, Cleveland +3, and then the Bears. I lost that one. Looked like maybe it was going to be in good position, but the Bears unable to convert on that fourth down. And the Niners in a really fun game ended up covering That was back and forth. I thought Caleb looked really good again. All right, so I went 2-1. I have control of the board. So let's just quickly identify the games that like have meaning for both teams. You got Carolina, Tampa. That one maybe, and then Pittsburgh, Baltimore. Those are the ones where both teams are playing for a playoff spot, right?
Well, the Bucks is a weird one. The Panthers Bucks is a weird one because the Panthers can lose. The Panthers can lose now because Atlanta beat the Rams on Monday night. Now, if the Falcons, who are a favorite against the Saints, if they win, basically the Panthers win the division.
Yeah.
So the Bucks, it is playing for the division. The Bucks have to win, so they're going to obviously go all out. We know both teams are going to be highly motivated in that game, but the Panthers can still win the division. So it's not a winner take all situation like the Ravens Steelers.
Yeah. There are other games that impact seeding, but I don't think there's another game, right? Unless I'm missing one where it's like, hey, playoffs are not on the line here. So then you got games that like Cincy, Cleveland, where no one is really playing for anything, right? So you got a few different classes of games, and then you got like Vikings, Packers, where the Packers are locked into the 7th seed. Clayton Tune is going to be their starting quarterback. They're 9.5-point underdogs against the Vikings, who aren't going to be in the playoffs. So it's just all sorts of wacky. I think so. I'll do this. My first play, and I don't know that I love the way the line's moving. I really kind of like San Francisco, but I'm seeing that line has now gone. I think I started at 1.5. Or at least I played it earlier in the week at San Francisco getting 1.5. I saw it basically not quite a pick, but San Francisco getting half a point, essentially a pick. And now I'm seeing San Francisco getting 2. Gosh, I don't know if I want to play that anymore. I don't know how I feel about that, but screw it. I'll go San Francisco against Seattle. To me, this is a play against Sam Darnold. Unless there's something, am I missing something where someone said that someone's not going to play or this or that? Because
no, you're not missing anything. Yeah. It's just the sharp dollars. There's a lot of professional bettors coming in on this Seahawks team for whatever reason, which was a little bit surprising to me. It's like, who do you trust less? Do you trust Sam Darnold less, or do you trust the Niners defense less? And I guess the professionals are saying we trust the Niners defense less. They haven't really, they've, had to score all these points every game just to keep up. And if Seattle's defense can slow them down a little bit, what will this game look like? I was surprised because you look at all the numbers for Purdy in his career. He's the clutcher quarterback. You look at him late in the season, 6-1 straight up in his career in January or later. I think he's 3-0. At home, he's, 3-0 straight up, 3-0 against the spread in January in crucial games. He's a big game guy in his career, and Sam Darnold is not. So I was surprised to see the public is on this Niners team. The public loves to see these flashy offenses, and the Niners have won 6 games in a row. And the line moving the other way has kind of scared me off this game.
Yeah.
I initially loved the Niners at the plus. I did bet it like you did at the plus at the.
Well, I got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So now it's a weird spot where I might be flipped on the Seahawks team, but you can. So I'm gonna let you ride with the Niners.
Well, yeah, I guess I've committed to that. I'll go with San Francisco, but this is kind of the feel for the week. The counter would be okay. So the sharp money on Seattle. I guess the counter would be San Francisco's really been riding high, and they just had this big win against the Bears, and maybe this is like a stock is at a not an all-time high, but a high mark for San Fran, and we're forgetting that Seattle's 13-3, and we've talked about them as a Super Bowl contender. So maybe that's a little bit of it, but yeah, I guess I'll go with San Francisco, and if I'm getting the full 2, then I guess I'll take that and feel decent about it. So I'll go San Fran, and a lot of what you talked about. Kyle Shanahan as a home dog has historically been pretty good. Darnold has struggled against the Niners, and in big games, he has faded, right? So I'll go with San Fran. I think that Kyle Shanahan has done an incredible job. We talked about it last week. So yeah, I'll go with San Fran for my first play, getting 2 points.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, just got to, you ask yourself the question, why did Vegas make the Niners a home dog in this spot? I guess there's professionals who are saying Seattle, better defense, ball control, but Kyle Shanahan's been making it happen with whatever's out there. Trent Williams, if he doesn't play, I haven't heard if he's going to play, that can be a big loss, but the offense without Kittle and Trent Williams, it's just plug and play every week for Kyle Shanahan, and he seems to get it done. So really exciting game. Both the games on Saturday are these big games before you get into Sunday. So I understand what you said with the Niners. I've been kind of pushed off of it for now. So it's right now a stay away. I'm going to see how that line moves going into the weekend. First pick.
You gonna go the Rams?
I will go with my old faithful, the Rams, just in case you were going to take it next. And I think
I'm bullying.
I am scared about the score in the second half. We'll be shaving players at a certain point if they're up by a certain amount. But this Rams team needs to get right going into the playoffs, coming off a loss. They're still my Super Bowl pick, despite what we saw on Monday night. And now you're seeing the public not come in as heavy on them because of what we saw, the recency bias. This Cardinals defense is beat up. They look ready for vacation, ready for their Cabo trips. And I think if the Rams are going to win the Super Bowl, which I still think they have a good chance of doing, they need to go into the playoffs hitting their stride. I think the locker room hears all the stuff about Drake May MVP. Stafford went into last week as a favorite, and now Drake May, because he threw a million TDs against the lowly Jets, he's minus 400 to win the MVP. So I think you look at what Stafford has done this year, the body of work with the strength of schedule that they played against, 42 TDs, 10 picks. If he throws 3 TDs, he'll be 45 TDs, 10 picks. I think there's only like 2 other quarterbacks who have ever done that. And I think that locker room, they want Stafford to close the year right. I think this offense gets right going into the playoffs. It's a public side. It's not as public as it normally would be because they lost on Monday night. The Rams earlier this year were a 9.5-point favorite in Arizona, and now they're a 7.5-point favorite at home. So weird spot where I don't know if the books are telling us the Rams could call off the dogs at some point in this game, but I think McVay, everything I've heard from him is he's pissed off. He wants this team getting right going into the playoffs. So I'll ride with my team that's made me probably the most money of any team this year, and I'll close out the year taking my Super Bowl pick, the Rams.
Okay. Yeah, I like it. 7.5, right? That's the number. That was a play that I really liked. A lot of the reasons you talked about too. I think, I don't know. I mean, some coaches probably have a set way how they want to handle things. I know, for instance, Matt LaFleur had zero. I mean, there was zero reason why he was motivated to play anyone with what happened last year with Jordan Love getting hurt in Week 18, getting dinged up, and not happening this year. No way that they were going to deal with that. So, coaches are always products of, whatever their experience has been. And with Sean McVay, I think after what happened last week, like you said, I think they're motivated to at least kind of have the arrow pointing back up going into the postseason. Although I will say that is, to me, one of the biggest flaws in just the casual sports fan talking about teams that, they weren't playing well going into the playoffs, they're going to get, ousted early or whatever. For every example of that, there's the example of the team that limped into the playoffs and then got hot, right? New life in all sports, especially in a football environment where it's one game, it's not a series. But yeah, I like that play. The Rams, to me, I still think that they are, you mentioned Super Bowl, and this is a different conversation, maybe one we'll have prior to next week's postseason beginning. I still don't know if there's a team in the NFC that I would take over the Rams unless I were to take the Eagles. And I know that I don't want to say I'm on an island with the Eagles. I just kind of think that they're going to get right at the right time with their defense, but I still really like the Rams. So anyway, I like that.
That is the scary part for the Rams, where, I mean, both of those teams, is that could be that first round matchup is Rams at Eagles. And that could be a drag out game where even if you win that game, you may come in to the next game limping a bit from how physical that game is and everything like that. So it is a little scary spot for the Rams, but yeah, there's not a team that I would pick over the Rams right now. I'm going to keep rolling. I'm happy. I'm probably going to get a better number on them to win the Super Bowl going in, because they have to do it on the road in these tough matchups. But I think they'll be a favorite in every game in the playoffs. I'd be surprised. I mean, maybe at Seattle, at San Fran, I still think they'd be a small favorite. So
yeah, no, I agree. So one play I made earlier in the week, and I'm not going to play now. I did play Minnesota lane 6.5. That number's climbed to 9.5 with the announcement that neither Jordan Love nor Malik Willis will play. I still would probably be on the Viking side if I were to be on a side, but I just one of those games probably.
There's a couple of games like that. I was as well when I heard the news. I got on the Vikings, and it's, we talk about getting on the lines and getting ahead of the news as fast as you can. These books move the lines pretty quickly, but the Vikings was one of them. We got it early. I got 5.5. I bet it again at 6.5. Yeah. I still like it at 8, but probably not my 3 anymore when you get more than the touchdown. The Commanders was another one where you could get it earlier in the week at a touchdown dog, and now you're seeing 4 because the Eagles are sitting all their key starters. So if you can get ahead, by the time we do the show, sometimes these lines have moved a little too much, but Clayton Tune against the Brian Flores defense will take that spot for the Vikings. But I don't know if we're going to back Max Brosmer as more than a touchdown in the 3 picks.
A lot of points.
Yeah, it's a lot. So, okay, where are you going for number 2?
I think I'm going to go. So there's good betting strategy in week 18 a lot of times when you've made season-long plays and you have the opportunity to hedge. I bet when the Baltimore Ravens were 1-5 that they were going to win their division. And they can do that by beating the Steelers on Sunday night. That's going to be a really fun game. That is one of the 2 games, and more than the other one. Like you said, you threw out the Falcons' ability to kind of throw a wrench in what's at stake in the Bucs-Panthers game, but there are no wrenches in Steelers-Ravens. A win for the Ravens gives them the same record as the Steelers, and I think they would get in with the tiebreak. If the Steelers win, then they'll end up with 10 wins. The Ravens would be 8-9, and the Steelers would get in, which is kind of crazy to think that they would win the division. I am not going to hedge, though. It is probably silly because Mike Tomlin is a home dog, especially a home dog of more than 3 points is pretty good. I can't take this Steelers team seriously. It is unbelievable to me that they have yet again under Mike Tomlin avoided a record that will be sub 500. But I just, I don't know if Baltimore had a get right spot against Green Bay with Derrick Henry rushing for over 200 yards. I don't know, if that was just kind of some fluke game because the Packers didn't have a lot to play for. But give me the Ravens. Give me the Ravens over noodle arm Aaron Rodgers, who has done a good job. I still love him. He brought me a Super Bowl back in 2011. I do love Aaron Rodgers, the football player, and he has been better than I think what we discussed early in the year. I just can't do it, though. Give me the Ravens. It's probably a sucker play at -3.5, but I'm going to take it. No hedging for me here.
I can't believe I'm doing this, but I'm gonna take the other side on you in this one and put it in my 3 picks to make it fun. I can't believe I can't get a read on the Steelers team. They're one of the teams that I just haven't been able to get a read on the whole year. Haven't made much money on them, betting them or betting against them, but I just haven't been able to get a read on them. I don't understand how they're even in this position, but it goes to show you, how bad this division was all year. And I think if Burrow was healthy all year, we could be talking about the Bengals as the winner of this division. But I bet when the Ravens played at home -5.5 against the Steelers, I played the Ravens in that game. I gave all the splits about the Steelers and the dog in this series and all those things, and I still went against everything. I took the Ravens. If you look at that game, the Ravens outgained them by a bunch of yards. They had the likely touchdown that should have been a touchdown that got called back. But I'm not going to be kicking myself again in this spot. I'm going to back the splits here. And I think it's better for the Steelers if Lamar plays. I don't think Lamar is right. I don't think he's doing the things that we know of Lamar, the running, making something out of nothing. They look better with Huntley. So I think if you're betting the Steelers, you're going to get a better number because it's Lamar. And I don't think the Ravens are necessarily that much better right now with Lamar than with Huntley. Okay, I'm going to give you all these splits on this game just so we can tell you how I can't follow the Ravens again in this spot, even if I think they're the more talented roster. Since 2005, underdog in this series, 30, 12, and 3 against the spread. Whoever the underdog is, 30, 12, and 3 against the spread.
That's crazy.
Mike Tomlin, as an underdog against Harbaugh in his career, 25, 7, and 3 against the spread, Tomlin. When the line is above 3, which it is here now, it's 3.5. When the line is above 3, the underdog is 24, 5, and 3 against the spread. So I said it when I took the Ravens early in the year. I said you should just blindly bet the underdog, but I can't do it because I don't believe in the Steelers team. I took the Ravens. I got bit in the ass. I'm not going to get bit in the ass again. I'm going to follow. And I think some of this is, no DK in this game. Again, no DK Metcalf, which is a key loss. So how are they going to move the ball? I don't really know, but this Steelers run defense has been better recently. That's been one spot where they have been better. You saw it in that Lions game. Even in the Cleveland game last week where the offense looked terrible, they were able to stop the run against a decent running attack in Cleveland. If you can slow down King Henry at all, I don't know that Lamar can really be the Superman Lamar that we normally see. And I think it's going to be a close game. Pros in public are pretty split, and the line is moving towards the Ravens, which is a little scary if you like the Steelers. But all that historical data, I'm going to roll with it. I think this game has so many storylines behind it. It's going to be a fun one to watch. I think there's a chance both these quarterbacks aren't quarterbacking these teams next year with all the Lamar drama that we're hearing. Rodgers, who knows if he's going to, we know what he's going to do next year. So there's a chance this is one of these quarterbacks' last games for his team. And it'll be fun to be on opposite sides in this spot. So I'll roll with the data. I'll roll with the underdog in this series and give me Pittsburgh plus 3.5.
And that's you just identified it. That's the right trend play, right? I'm doing what burned us both because, we were both on the same side of that Ravens-Steelers first matchup. And I one of the things I said was, I just can't see the Steelers winning the division. I'm going to take the Ravens. And that's not, winning the game doesn't necessarily mean you're going to cover the spread. It was probably a silly play, but I'm kind of going to go back to that well. And let me ask you this. You talk about the quarterbacks. You think that this is Mike Tomlin's last game if the Steelers lose? There's a lot of talk that he's got a lot of money waiting for him in TV if he wants to go that route.
I think they'd be idiots to fire him, but
I don't know if they would fire him, but
you think he might just say,
"Yeah,
F it, I'm gonna take roll off in the sunset and get paid to be on TV." I don't know. I don't know. The guy, the way that guy seems like a competitor and in a locker room. For me, I don't see him walking away from coaching for a long time, but I could be wrong. You never know what's going on with somebody's, outside of work or, what they want in their life. But I don't see him not being on the sideline for very long, in my opinion. So I don't think so. I think there'd be a long line of teams that would love to have Mike Tomlin. Maybe if it's his choice, like you're saying, maybe he could just take the TV route. But I would be surprised to not see Mike Tomlin on the sideline again.
It's crazy. And he's been there forever too.
He's been there for, longest tenured in the league, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And this
and Harbaugh's got to be second, I would guess.
That's probably right.
Tenured coaches in the NFL. I would think it's Harbaugh second.
Let's see if I can tenure. Super crazy. Right. Crazy.
That's right. One and two, right?
Yeah. So hired 1 and 2. And then Andy Reid's 3. Sean McDermott hired in 2017, the fourth. Sean McDermott, Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan. I guess I don't know which one was hired first, but all were 2017 hires. Wow, that's kind of crazy.
And I will say, I don't know if you like. I haven't bet the Steelers yet. I was waiting for Lamar to be confirmed in, and maybe I could get even a 4 on this, maybe. But I think the books know that Lamar is playing based on the number. I don't know if you've seen anything that confirms that Lamar. I know everything's saying he's trending in the right direction to play, but
yeah, he is going to play. Or he said I guess things can change. He said though that he is playing, and Zach, I wonder this too. You're right. We have not seen the same Lamar. There is something about getting in the playoffs, and I'm not a doctor. But I have heard guys say before. I've heard guys say before that they pick their spots on when they do certain things that allow them to mask pain or get ready for games. But they got to be judicious with it. It's not saying that you're going to do every single week. And I wonder if with the playoffs on the line, you might get not necessarily the healthiest version, but the most able version of Lamar that we've seen all year, because this is the week to try and do whatever you need to do to get in. I don't know. I
think that's fair. The only thing I would say on the flip side of that is Lamar in these clutch spots in his career has not been very good. Yeah. He's not been very good in the playoffs. He's not been very good in these, I guess regular season at the end of the year, there's probably some splits that he's decent, but in the big games, Lamar hasn't been great. But if you're asking me which one of these teams could make a run in the playoffs, it's definitely the Ravens. I'll back the Steelers as a dog. I still think the Ravens are probably going to win the game. And I don't know if you want to see this team, if you're the Texans, coming into Baltimore, this is a team that has the talent level to get hot at the right time. Something's not right with Lamar, and unless we see a complete turnaround of that, I don't know how this team can just get hot. But we'll see.
So you had no incentive to pick the Steelers that round because I couldn't take the Steelers. So I'm gonna give you the next pick because you could have saved them for your last pick, right? But it would have been disjointed had you waited. So I'll let you pick the next game.
Okay. I have to honorably mention the Falcons-Saints game, and then I'll probably be hedging this game.
I'm surprised you're not wearing your Tyler Shuck jersey.
I know the Shuck jersey is coming. Shucking and jiving. I'm on the hype train. I've been on the hype train. I'm probably gonna maybe bet the Falcons here because I have so much riding on the Shuck Offensive Rookie of the Year, and I think if they pull off a win here and he plays well, he could be in really good position to win. He's now plus 140 Offensive Rookie of the Year. I gave it out at 200 to 1. He was 300 to 1 before his first game and went down to 200 to 1. That's when I gave it out in the show. It's gone down every week. I gave out the schedule. They're on that winning streak, exactly like we mentioned on the show of the matchups he had. He's won all those games. They've also covered 5 straight games, and we've been betting the Saints, although I faded them last week. That was kind of a hedge last week on the Titans too, because I knew if Shuck won, that would help his Rookie of the Year candidacy. So it's him and Tetero McMillan now. I'll be hedging on Tetero. I'm not going to put this in my 3, but there may be a hedge. I know Olave is not playing in that game, so his go-to target is not going to be there, which is going to make it tougher on him. But I think we got to talk about this Panthers-Bucks game.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to make a pick on that because it is the game that we know both teams are going to be motivated. Am I going to make a pick on that? It's that or the Bengals.
Mm-hmm. And you're on the Bengals side. Yeah.
Of course, I'm on the Bengals side. And
it's tough. This week is really tough.
It's tough.
Thank gosh for the college football playoffs. And I would say this too, Zach, and I think you would agree. This is one of those weeks where, like, if you stay locked in on whatever information comes out, there might be more clear pictures to look at, on Saturday or Sunday morning. Like this is one where I could see us exchanging text Sunday morning and say, hey, I'm going to end up playing this or that, for whatever reason. This is a tougher week to jump early. And Friday's not typically jumping early. I mean, heck, there are 2 games tomorrow. But I think given just the variables in play, 48 hours out from a bulk of these games, that's still like relatively early with, all the things that, you could see come out. And, it's you'll see some, my guess is you'll see at least 1 or 2 of these games, some big movements that will kind of tell you a bit of a story. Like, we saw it in college the other day. The Ohio State-Miami line moved a lot day of and kind of pointed towards Miami, not necessarily winning, but covering, and hell, they ended up winning. So I would say, if you're listening to us kind of waver a little bit on picks, there's no requirement that you have to gamble every single weekend if you don't feel good about it. But I would say this is a week where stay locked in, even beyond listening to this or watching this the next couple of days, and morning of Sunday for the bulk of the games. There could be some tells that might point you in a certain direction.
Yeah. I'll give you this on the Panthers-Bucks first. The Panthers, to me, when the line came out, I said, in my mind, it was snap bet Panthers. I thought I was always going to be on the Panthers. I was going to wait for a better number, which now I have a better number, but I just don't know what the books are doing with this line. I'm surprised to see the public is now, they're off the Baker bandwagon. I thought we are going to have some Baker lifers coming in on the Bucks, but the public is off this team after, losing 5 straight. And I think they haven't covered in 8 weeks. And so the public is off this side, but the line is moving towards the Bucks, which I'm surprised at Panthers, I think, have been the better, well-rounded team all year. Panthers are 7-0 this year, 7-0 against the spread this year after a loss. They lost last week, covering those games by 11 points a game. They've been a juggernaut as an underdog. We've talked about on the show a bunch. We've bet them as an underdog. We've been cleaning up on the Panthers all year in these spots. So Baker at home has been bad. There's all these splits about Baker. He's 22-36 against the spread at home in his career. That's the worst of any QB with more than 50 games, except for Jay Cutler. So you don't really want to be in the Jay Cutler company.
No. Yeah.
They're at home against divisional opponents, 5-14 against the spread. Todd Bowles in must-win games. He's must-win games. He has a terrible record. So everything points to me, Panthers. I'll probably end up making a play on the Panthers, but the line movement to me is scary. So I'm going to say my play I like a little bit more is the Bengals, and I'll make that my 3rd pick. I don't know how we don't bet this Bengals team in this spot with what we've seen from Burrow. For all we know, they're going to keep playing hard this week. They've been playing hard. They brought Burrow back from injury despite being eliminated from the playoffs for all intents and purposes. And the offense has been clicking. The offensive line is the key that's looked a lot better these last few weeks. They have like a top 10 protection of Burrow, which is a big difference in years past from the Bengals. So Cleveland 0-6 against the spread after a win in the last 2 years. 0-6. So that's how little of wins they have in the last 2 years. But when they do win, 0-6 against the spread, not covering by over 10 points a game after a win. So last week kind of felt like the Super Bowl for the Browns. They got to play their rival, the Steelers, make it hard for the Steelers to get into the playoffs. They got an outright win. And now you have a young team with a young quarterback in a meaningless game against a team that's coming in, clicking on all cylinders on offense. I think the Bengals offense keeps rolling, and it's a little bit chalky here, but I'll roll with the Bengals, who I think would probably have won the division if Burrow was healthy all year.
Yeah, I think you might be right. I like that pick. If you were going to leave that for me, that's the pick I was going to make. I have been burned a number of times by the Bucs since we started doing this podcast, and I kind of want to be burned by them again. I'm not going to make that my third pick, but I will tell you that there's a decent chance I end up taking the Bucs when Sunday morning rolls around, or sorry, tomorrow morning, right? Because they play tomorrow afternoon. And I don't know that I have a good reason why, because like you said, all the trends say you take Carolina. Like it's like two-sided trends, right? Like you presented trends favoring Carolina and trends that don't favor Tampa. It's like
right.
It's like the arrow is pointing to this being such a cash cow, but
the books know these trends, right? The books know these trends, and they're still moving this line towards Tampa, and that's why, I would almost hammer the Panthers if I saw more favorable line movement that I thought the books were favoring the Panthers in some way. It scares me that they're moving it towards Tampa, with money coming in on Carolina, and there is some recency bias because the Bucs have looked so bad these last few weeks. I mean, most of these games they've lost by one score, and you would think at some point, if Baker is not as hurt as we might think he is, that this offense, comes to play, and if there's a weakness to this Panthers defense, it's the secondary. And, maybe Baker can carve them up a bit. So, like I said, if the line was moving almost towards the Panthers, I'd be almost more inclined, even though it would be getting a worse number. The books are telling me that Tampa's the right side for whatever reason. So that's what's hesitant. So I get why you want to take Tampa, even with all the trends.
So I'm considering taking a meaningless game instead of this Tampa game, and I'll talk this out. I'm curious your thoughts. Mm-hmm. And this has meaning, but just in a
Cowboys.
Way. What's that?
Cowboys?
No, I'm interested in this Chiefs Raiders game, because
Don't bring up the Raiders, please.
Well, I wouldn't take the Raiders. If I'm taking a side, I'm taking the Chiefs. The Chiefs are 5.5-point favorites with Chris Olodokun, or however you pronounce his name, as their quarterback. And I think some of it is like the Raiders have packed it in, right? Crosby out, Bowers out. They have the number one pick. All they need to do is lose, right? Bill O'Brien is not coaching this team. They're not going to screw up the number one pick. I would be shocked if ever a team goes into week 18 or whatever the final week is, because that's changed over the years, in the driver's seat for the number one pick and end up winning. That is baffling. And I don't think the Raiders are going to do this because they also need a quarterback, right? I'm not saying that the Giants wouldn't benefit from having the number one overall pick, but there's a chance that the Giants with the number one overall pick would not take a quarterback. They like Jackson Dart. Maybe they want to give him another year to see, what he can do, how he can develop, unless they were just head over heels in love with, Mendoza or any of the quarterbacks, right? I mean, they're always guys that climb up once you get into draft season, but the Raiders need a quarterback. Geno Smith is, even if they wanted him to run it back one more year, he's not the quarterback of the future. So if I don't think they're going to win, and the Chiefs I don't see as a team that really, like, Andy Reid's not a guy like, I'm going to lose this game for any sort of a draft position. I mean, as badly as they've drafted, maybe it doesn't matter anyway. So like a part of me really likes the Chiefs crazily laying 5.5 with their third string quarterback. But then I go back to, do I really want to play a game where there's really nothing on the line? And would I feel better about playing Tampa knowing that at least they were playing for something, right? And you mentioned the Falcons Saints game, but that game's going to start at the same time, so it's not like they'll know. They can see the scores, and if the Falcons, like, I guess it's not like Tampa's going to rest anyone. And if anything, I guess you could say, well, maybe Carolina would rest guys. What if the Falcons go up 28-0? Now, my guess is they're going to say, we're not going to pay attention. We're going to play the game full on. But I don't ever buy that. There's someone in the Falcons or the Saints or the Panthers organization who is going to be aware of what's going on. And if the Falcons just get out to a huge lead, do the Panthers in the fourth quarter call off the dogs a little bit? Right? It's possible. I think I'm going to take the Bucks. I think I've talked myself into this.
I think there's a very high likelihood that the Bucks win the game and the Falcons win, and the Panthers. It's like the not deserving team that sneaks their way into the playoffs. But I think there's a very high likelihood that happens. I mean, on the Raiders game, I'll say this, that, my close friends and family have barred me from ever betting the Las Vegas Raiders again. So if I'm going to pick a side, it'll be the Chiefs, but I can't even watch this game. Yeah. So I don't even want to have, there's some thought that Kenny Pickett might be a better, play than Geno Smith because he's not going to throw as many picks maybe. But Kenny Pickett against the Spags D, for an all intents and purposes, again, they're going to be playing their guys in this game, is not a great matchup for Kenny Pickett. Chiefs are incentivized to lose the game just as much as the Raiders for draft position. I think the Chiefs can get in the top 10 if they lose the game, but that's not really Andy Reid's style. I don't want to put this in the quad box at all and really have much of a position on this game. So it's a stay away for me. So yeah, might be Bucks. I would probably lean more if you're going to make that pick. But
what are you giving me? Bucks at 2.5 or 3?
Well, what's the line now?
Well, I've seen it, but I'm seeing both. I'll let you make the call. I'm going to take it either way.
I'll let you know what I'm seeing. Hold on.
And while you're looking, I'll tell you that I've seen, and I don't feel good about this, but San Francisco, I now am starting to see a 2.5. So we talked about at the beginning. That one,
there's got to be some sharp syndicates, some big groups that are piling in the money on the Seattle team. I mean, to go from 1.5 point dogs to 2.5 point favorites. So a 4-point swing in a number 1 seed deciding game is pretty wild to see this much of a swing. And again, I don't know if it's some injuries for the Niners that haven't fully come out, who's not playing, if the books know something, but it makes me think Seattle is the right side. I mean, I may take a position on Seattle money line at this point with this line movement. I'm seeing 3, but I'm seeing heavy juice on the Panthers at the +3 number. So, you're getting plus money. Even if you bought it down to 2.5, you're getting almost like a normal, you're getting like -120 on the 2.5. So I'll give you the 2.5 on Tampa, because it looks like it's either going to end up at 2.5, or you can, if you bought the hook, you're getting a discount on the price because it's plus money at the 3. So I'll give you the 2.5 there. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, we didn't mention the Lions-Bears game or the Cowboys game or the Chargers game.
Yeah, I'll give you quick thoughts on that. I'm surprised that the Cowboys line is what it is. It's dropping towards the Giants, right? It was, I saw it at 4.5. It's now 3.5. It seems like, is this a Giants line right here? I guess I was a little surprised by that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the sharps are coming in on this Giants team for whatever reason. I guess they're saying, based on what we saw from the Giants last week, they're going to let Dart loose. 2 weeks ago, they threw the ball like 12 times. And then last week, they were running design runs and all sorts of stuff for Dart to make him look good. So I guess they're saying Dart should be able to move the ball against this bad Cowboys defense. But we've been talking about Dak. I mean, these meaningless games, he's been very good against division opponents late in the year. He's been very good in these meaningless spots. And if you're on the Cowboys win total for the year, this is a big game for you. This is the deciding game. I've got some some buddies who've got some big positions on Cowboys over who have hedged and taken the Giants plus the points because they could, the Cowboys win by 3. You win the Cowboys over win total, and then you win the line as well. So for whatever reason, public is on the Cowboys and the sharps are coming in big on this Giants team. So if it keeps going down, I may take a position on the Cowboys. If it gets to 3, I may take a position on this Cowboys team, but they like the Cowboys. I kind of like the Chargers. I haven't taken a position on it. Going to wait to see if I can get a better number, but if Herbert played in this game, which he's not, you're getting Trey Lance in this game. If Herbert played, it'd probably be Broncos by 3, 2.5, 3 in this game. And now you're seeing almost 13. So you're saying Herbert's worth 10 points. He's been amazing all year, but I don't know if he's worth 10 points against the spread. And Lance looked decent in this preseason. He should, the offensive line is terrible for the Chargers, but his legs should be able to negate some of that offensive line issues and maybe, get them some first downs with his legs. So I was going to take a position on that game. I would bet the Chargers. I'm going to wait to see if that line gets up to 13 and a half, maybe take a position on the Chargers. But yeah, some weird games where you don't really know what, based on score and what's going on in other games, exactly what buttons they're going to press in the second half. So again,
then
like we said at the beginning of the show, being selective. Go ahead.
You bet Bears Lions. That's a weird one where it looks like there's like no money on the Lions. It seems like the Bears are a pretty sharp play, and they are playing for a chance at the 2nd seed. If the Bears win, then they have the tiebreaker over Philadelphia. If both the Bears and the Eagles win, then the Bears would be the 2nd seed, and I guess there's obviously value in that. It's not all the value in the world. You're not willing to push all your chips in the middle of the table just to get the 2nd seed over the 3rd seed. But,
the books are begging for money on this Lions team. They're begging for money. And so I'm probably going to give it to them at some point in this game. Everybody's on the Bears. I mean, the pros I've talked to like the Bears. The public's huge on the Bears. The line is now 3. If I get to 3.5, I'll take a position on this Lions team. I don't. What we've seen lately, it doesn't look pretty for the Lions. Offensive line issues, secondary, everything's gone to shit. But Campbell, I'll give you some good splits. Week 18, and this is just show Campbell does not take his foot off the gas and rest guys. Campbell in his career as a coach, Week 18, 4-0 straight up, 4-0 against the spread, Week 18, Campbell. So he ain't going to take guys out of this game. We've talked about the Lions off a loss. Again, this is a different Lions team without Ben Johnson. Goff hasn't looked like himself, the injuries, but I know the books are going to need money on the Lions, and, they're going to want the Lions to cover. So I'll probably roll with the books at some point in this game, especially if I can get to 3.5. And the Bears, that was the best game of Caleb Williams' career last week. So I think if you're a Bears fan, you should feel good about the guy you have. I don't think they're going to win a playoff game, but I think you feel good about the guy you got at the helm based on what you saw last week in a big spot for Caleb. I think that was the best game of his career last week.
I'll tell you, Zach, I don't know if the Bears win and they host the Packers in the first round. I'd be curious if the Bears are favored, and if they are favored, that's a Packers spot. But I don't think
they won't. The Bears won't be favored.
Yeah, no. I don't think they will be either. I think you're right. Hey, we got a question from loyal listener Nick, who wants to know Oregon.
Let's go Ducks.
Yeah, the Hoosiers are opening as 4-point favorites. Now, a point of clarification. We said last show that our inclination was Bama, but we both ended up playing Indiana. We've got betting slips to prove it. So we ended up playing the Indiana side on that one. Indiana 4-point favorites. What are you thinking?
I mean, we talked about the show last week. I was undecided. I said I liked Bama at the big number, but the more, and then I was like at the smaller number, I was more of a coin toss. But then the more I dove into the numbers and everything, Bama was just a one-dimensional football team, couldn't run the ball, and it was a good spot for Indiana. When I saw the line movement, we ended up on the Indiana side, so Nick gave us some shit on the gram yesterday, but we were on the Indiana side. This one, I don't think Oregon's a one-dimensional team, and I do think I'm going to wait to see the line movement. But I saw 4, and now I'm seeing 4.5. Is that what you're seeing on Oregon?
Yeah.
I think, for all intents and purposes, for me, this is the national championship game for me. I think the winner of this game is going to raise the trophy. I do think Miami has an outside shot against anybody, just what they're doing in the trenches in Miami. But I think whoever wins this game is going to raise the trophy. And, man, I'm going to wait to see how the line moves. But I know Nick's going to hate it. Initially, I like Oregon. I like the points. And I think Indiana, as much as, people came to last game. This team's never been here before. Teams off a bye in the college football playoffs had not won a game. And so there was some love for Bama, this historically great team. And so it was ended up being a good spot for Indiana. Now, man, after that game yesterday, the hype train on Indiana is it's as high as it's ever been on this Indiana team. So I feel like I'm going to get a good number on Oregon because of that hype train. And doesn't mean Indiana's not going to win the game. But if you're going to give me, I'm going to wait to see how high it gets. I think it's going to keep going Indiana's way. If I could see it get to 5.5, 6, I'm going to take a position on this Oregon team. So initially, that's my read is buy, sell Indiana at its highest point. And that doesn't mean they're not going to win. I still think there should be the favorite to win it all. Probably will win it all, but you're going to give me a big line in a knockout, drag-out game against a team they've already played with a good defense. Dan Lanning at the helm. Probably going to take Oregon. That's my read.
Two really good coaches, 2 really good rushing attacks, 2 really good defenses. I think if you're betting on Oregon, I don't think if you're betting on Oregon, then you are like, there's some people who don't believe that Dante Moore, is able to make big plays, on against good defenses like this. I don't know that I buy that. I shouldn't say they don't think he can make good plays. They think there's a level of inconsistency that someone like Mendoza doesn't have. Mendoza's definitely more polished. There's no doubt about it. But I think playing a second time, I mean, we saw it in Ole Miss, Georgia. I don't know what the I don't know, what Pete Golding would say their advantages were because of that first matchup, but it's not easy to beat a really good team twice. And even though Indiana went to Eugene and beat them, and this is neutral, which in theory would, help Indiana in comparison to the environment on the road. Again, we're not saying that Indiana is going to lose, but to cover by more than a field goal, and especially if, as you said, that number gets to 6, I'm punching that one hard because Oregon's defense is really, really good, and their offensive line is really, really good. And I know that Baron Morton's not great, and Texas Tech's offense, they put up some good numbers throughout the year, but all right, maybe they're not elite. But what Oregon did defensively was pretty impressive. So, yeah, I think right now the lean would be to Oregon, but I'm with you. I want to see how this unfolds. I agree too. Yeah. I think it's the national championship game. I know that's probably going to be said a ton. And if Ole Miss, I would give Ole Miss a better chance. I know that Miami just beat Ohio State and looked pretty impressive, but I just would have a tougher time picking Carson Beck to win over Oregon or Indiana. I think, we saw what Trinidad Chambliss can do, with his legs. And that to me, I mean, there were those plays was it the early in the 4th or late in the 3rd when it looked like Georgia was about to get a stop, and twice Chambliss just kind of played NCAA football and ran around, 15 yards behind the line of scrimmage just to buy time and ended up making plays. That's stuff that really good defenses, sometimes it will neutralize really good defenses if you just got a superior athlete. And it's crazy. So Trinidad Chambliss, a lot of people talked about it. He came from Ferris. He was a backup at Ferris. Zach, back in the day, I broadcast Northwood University football. That's the GLIAC, same conference as Ferris. I watched those games thinking I could maybe play. Like I would make, if I ran 30 routes, I would make at least 3 catches. So for Trinidad Chambliss to be there and to be a backup, that's either
what a come up,
awful coaching or what an incredible story. That's like the Zach Barron, Jared Sandler 7th grade Green Hill football combo could have connected at least once, with all due respect to the GLIAC, at least once.
That's insane. Well, I mean, what a come up. What a come up for the kid. You gotta give him credit. I mean, Indiana and Oregon played once this year, and it was a 10-point win for Indiana in Oregon. But if you look at that game, it was 20-20 in the fourth quarter, and I think Moore threw 2 picks in that game. And so, that game was a drag-out fight, and I think that's what we'll see again. So if you're going to give me a bunch of points, but like you said, I mean, I don't think both the difference between these two teams in Ohio State, even though I think if Ohio State played Miami again, I'd say, they'd probably win. The pick 6, the game script, just the way it fell. That's why you play the games. And, but these two teams can run the football, and Ohio State couldn't run the ball for whatever reason on Miami. And I think these two teams, if they faced either Ole Miss or Miami, should be able to run the ball, and they both have really good defenses. So, I think it's a national championship game. I think because of the Indiana beating them by 10 earlier in the year, because the hype train is so much after the blowout at Alabama, you're going to get some value on a number with Oregon. So I know Nick's going to hate to hear it, but I'm sure we'll look at it again next week and see how the lines moved and, what information's come out, leading up to the game. So
should be fun. That will be, maybe we'll get a show in before to talk about it. Because of the New Year's holiday, we didn't do Thursday, so maybe we'll do Thursday next week, get back on track there. We got a comment that Chambliss is good, but he's no Jeff Boyd. That is true. 7th grade Jeffrey Boyd, 8th grade Jeffrey Boyd was, I think we were ready to give him the Heisman.
We were. I don't know if Boyd would have transferred somewhere as a backup, though. He would have had to just been the shoe-in starter wherever he went. So shout out Jeff Boyd, future headmaster of Green Hill.
Who's Russ Standen 12? That's who dropped the Jeff Boyd comment.
I think that has to be Ross making a fake screen name, maybe.
Oh, 12. Well, in the 12th man, maybe.
Oh yeah, Tamu. I'm surprised not Tamu Kicks. That's usually his Texas A&M screen name. He hasn't shown face since the A&M loss, but
that was a tough scene.
They were better than Texas, so
being at Casa de Pollock watching A&M lose and Ross, I felt badly for him. All right, well, that's going to do it. Our picks. I already would love to trade my first overall pick, which is a bad sign, but San Fran getting 2. I said it before, it went to 2.5, so we'll lock in the 2. Baltimore lane 3.5, Tampa lane 2.5. Zach's going with the Rams lane 7.5, Pittsburgh getting 3.5, and Cincinnati lane 7.5. We'll be back next week. We will have a robust playoff show and maybe even get some college picks in as well. But Zach, let's make some money one last week in the regular season, and then the real stuff starts.
Let's go.
All right, there you go. He's Zach. I'm Jared. Thanks so much for being with us. Week 18 of the Betting Booth.